Now let's make our application to be capable to run as a Linux service, which means whenever we start a Raspberry Pi, our application runs automatically. Now for this to happen, we need to create that service file. We call it drone app.service. Now this .service file needs to be formatted in a certain manner. We'll add this information to it. Here are pretty basic stuff. The important part is this line. So whenever this service starts, it executes the command from the root Python and the full path to our application. Now here we will set our directory where it is going to be deployed, which is, we'll do something basic like home pi, cloud app raspi, right? Something, I think it's something like this. Cloud app raspi app. Okay. And here you see that's another part of it. It's the command line argument additional to our Python script. Our Python script will read this parameter, and this is important because when we start it from the root, we want our application to know the whole path to our files, to local files in a local directory. As example, you see here, when we configure logging, we set the current directory. The current directory will have a logs directory. But what is current directory? I mean, when you deploy it, you don't know the full path. What is the current one, right? I mean, when you start your Python from within the folder where this application is located, app.py, that's fine. It will resolve it automatically. But when you start it as Linux service starts from the root, and this symbol doesn't mean much. I mean, it means that in root directory of Raspberry Pi we will have logs, and we will not have them, obviously. So what we want to add now, we want to change a little bit the configuration. We will create dynamic. We will resolve our path dynamically. So we will change this line to something like this. And of course we need to add argparse library. So we use argument parser. We parse this argument, which is D for directory. Here you see we specified it. So we're gonna parse it, and if we specified it, because if you don't specify it, that means that you're starting it locally from within the same folder, and that will be just enough, just fine. But if you start as a root, we will be specifying this like this, and this app directory will have the appropriate value. It will be either current directory or the full path, and here we're adding it. Now what's different here comparing to what we had before is that we have two handlers, because we want to output our logs into the console and into the file simultaneously. Well, to the file it will be important for when it runs the service on the back end. I mean, when the Raspberry Pi starts and it runs on your drone, and drone is somewhere flying, then you want to read files after that, so we need file appender. And when we debug application, like what we do right now, it will be useful to see on the console. So we configure in two appenders. For the file appender, we're specifying the name of the file here. Something pretty straightforward. So this file that it will be located in full path our application directory, and our application directory will contain logs directory. You see this one, and in this logs directory the name of the file will be main app, and so forth. Okay, let's by the way check both occasions. Directory would be Okay. Right. So we've done that. We've created our file. Now what is left is to deploy it to our Raspberry Pi and run it. Okay, let's go to our Raspberry Pi. It's on our desktop in this case. This is our project. This is Raspberry Pi. So we deploy it on our Raspberry Pi. Okay. Then we go there. Nice. And we have these files. Now the next thing we want to do to make it a Linux service, we need to deploy this file, to move it into the certain Linux directory. So let's do this. We need to sudo move drawn up service to lib. It was lib systemd system folder. Okay, system, we wanna move it there, drawn up net service. Okay. Alright, we moved it there. Now we want to restart our system control. System control, it was daemon reload. Wait a minute. Daemon, that's daemon, damn it. Daemon reload. Okay, and what we want to do next is enable our drawn up service. There it is. Okay, created, you see? Now this service is enabled, which means that when we start this application, when we reboot our Raspberry Pi, if we go into logs, or something called, let's remove it. Here, log should appear. Okay, and how we will know that it started? It's okay. So sudo reboot. Let's see. I need to wait a little bit for it to restart, and we will reconnect to it. So it will start. It will create log file with this directory if everything is successful, and we will see those logs. Okay. Okay. Yep. You see it created log. Drawn up has started and directory is there you go. It's exactly what we specified in this file. So it ran beautifully. Now let's see something else. Restart session. We will close it. By the way, if we want to see the status, what we can do is system controls status drawn up service, and you see, well, it's inactive because well, obviously it doesn't do anything. It just starts and it dies. But when we make it run continuously, it will stay as active. But that's a good thing. So that's what it you see. The logs from this service. But we can actually, you know what, we can cloud app and do the following. Python bams, it started. Oh, there you go. You see, now directory is specified like this, while here, as you remember, we saw the same log, right? but the directory was this. So it will run either way. If when we run it from as a Linux service, it will create this file and it will find its current directory of the application will be like this. But we want to run it from the command line. It will resolve the current directory from the sign of the current directory. Okay, I hope you get it. So I think that's pretty much it for setting it as a Linux service. Now, if you do not want to have it as a Linux service, to every time for it to start, you can obviously use the same of those commands, system control, where it was enable, you would do it like disable, right? Disable drawn up service. It will remove those syslinks, and that's it. That it will not start after that. But for now, while we're developing, we don't need it as a Linux service. But that's the way how you set it up. All right.